Agen Erev Shabbos, everyone. We have a special location for today's Pesacheinu Megadim. We're filming live from Pico in Los Angeles, connecting the beginning and the end of the Parshas Shoftim. Shoftim v'shoitrim titen lecha b'chol sharecha. The Torah commands us to appoint judges and officers in all your gates. So there's a well-known interpretation of the Shla HaKadosh, the Chida in many of his Sfarim quote. Namely, every human being has gateways to their soul. There are 7 gateways of one's soul recorded in the Sefer Yetzirah: the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, and the mouth. And one has to guard the gateways of the soul. Namely, one has to put judges. One has to make sure that what enters their eyes, ears, is only dvarim shebekdusha, only proper things. So that's the opening message of the parsha. Shoftim v'shoitrim titen lecha. You have to be careful what you look at, what you listen to, what you allow yourself to take in. But how can a person make these guards? How could one ensure that their eyes are only seeing the right thing? After all, a person has desire, a person has taiva. So how do you overcome desire? So what does the Mishnah say in Pirkei Avos? Hakavya ben mahalal el oimer histakel in certain things v'loy bali dechet, so you don't come to sin. One of them is la'an ata hoylech. Where are you going? Where are you going? We're going lamakoim afar rima v'toilea. One has to always think that they're going to end up in a place of worms and maggots. Sure enough, the closing pasuk on the parsha, va'ata tevaer hadam hanaki, and you should eradicate the innocent blood. The Sefer Shachal HaTorah. Also the Chida brings down Soifei Tevois Rima Viata Tevaer Hadam Hanaki. Soifei Tevois Rima. In other words, what the context to Egla Arufa is that there was an idea that the Bezdin was assisted by miraculous worms that would identify where the source of the Ritzicha came from. But le'inyanenu, for our purposes, the remez to Rima is when a person has a desire to look or to hear or to partake of something that they shouldn't, the remez is Rima, contemplate what one's end will be, namely Lamakam Afar Rima V'Toilea. What's very interesting is that the second subject matter of the Parsha is Loisita Lecha Ashera Koletz, the prohibition of planting an improper Ashera tree. To the remez leisita lecha ashera kol eitz. The second to last topic of the parsha is that if you set siege on a city, kisatzur elir yamim rabim lehilachim aleh lesafsa leisashches eitza. Do not destroy a tree. So the parsha second topic is the planting of a idolatrous tree. The second to last subject is not to destroy a fruitful tree. So it's interesting how the parsha begins with the subject of a fruitful tree and ends with not chopping down. It begins with the subject of not planting an idolatrous tree, and it ends with the subject of not destroying a fruitful tree. Here's one more important idea. The parsha begins the importance and the mitzvah of establishing courts, because that will ensure the justice of society and in one city where one lives. However, the parsha ends, V'ata tevayer hadam hanaki mikarbecha. You need to eradicate innocent blood in your midst, kisasa hayasha b'nei Hashem, by doing what is just in the eyes of Hashem. Ibn Ezra explains that what the Torah is saying is that aside from setting up courts to ensure the justice of society, every individual has to be careful with their own personal behavior. Because when an individual sins, schar mitzvah, mitzvah, schar avera, avera, it has an impact on other people. It has a spiritual impact on other people. That if you sin, or you have a callous attitude toward murder, it can downgrade other people's attitude, and it could cause the spilling of innocent blood. So aside from Bezdin ensuring the just surrounding of society, the individuals have to make sure that they're living to a proper standard, because they could spiritually affect also the atmosphere of society. However, Rabbi Emanuel Bernstein in his Sefer on Chumash, called Dimensions on Chumash, offers a elementary understanding that many people think that the standards of society are affected only by the courts or the justice system, when the standards of society require not only a just judicial system, but a just environment that is created by individuals. In other words, what is needed is a partnership between the courts and the system of justice and the personal behavior of the individuals of society. Both together contribute to a just society. So the Parsha begins in a complementary way to the way it ends. It ends complementary to the way it begins. And therefore the message is we need a partnership between the Shoftim and the Shotrim, Titein Lecha B'chol Sharecha, and the just behavior of individuals of society. V'yata tevayer hadam hanoki mikerbecha kisasa hayoshar be'inei Hashem. And that will ensure that society remains in the proper way. So I wish everyone Agun Shabbos, and we shall be zoicha to be memane the Shoftim, the Shotrim, so that we will be sasa hayoshar be'inei Hashem. Agun Shabbos.